Hey guys, welcome back to another PS2 Memories video. Here we are taking a look at what is quite possibly considered to be one of the worst games ever made on the PlayStation 2, and that is Crazy Frog Racer. If you can remember back in the mid 2000s, the remake of a very popular song that was added, and they used a unique video with animated graphics, and this is where the Crazy Frog character pretty much came to life. And if you remember back then, that song was played to death on music channels, almost to a point that it really started to annoy people. And that's the common theme with the Crazy Frog character itself. At first people kind of loved it when they seen it at first, but after a couple of weeks of seeing it consistently and hearing the usual noises and the sounds that it makes, it quickly started to annoy a lot of people. But because of its popularity and due to it, it started so many trends, and it was popular for quite a while, to a point that it actually caught the attention of even games companies to try and go out and create games based off the character itself, to try and cash in on the popularity of the character. So that's what Crazy Frog Racer was born, and it was released in 2005 for the PlayStation. And the game did get a sequel with Crazy Frog Racer 2, or also known as Crazy Frog Arcade Racer, in 2006. That was in other regions, and ideally this game was just more of the same as this one. So what this game is more or less kind of like a Mario Kart style type of clone, but it's not executed as well as other very popular games that were also released on the system. I'll leave a link to a playlist below in the description to a lot of kart racer games or multiplayer style racing games that are released on the system. You can go and check them out, and you can see the differences between them and this here. And for the most part, this game didn't receive good reviews at all. It received very mixed to low, even negative reviews, and people just pretty much slated it. I think at that point when the game was released, people got that fed up with the actual character, because it was played everywhere you seen it, you seen the Crazy Frog. And I will admit, even myself personally, it did start to get annoying after a while. Every time you turn the TV on, you'd hear it in some shape or form, or you'd see it on TV, either in an advertisement or you'd see a music video. There was always something relating to it, and it was a point that you couldn't get away from it. So I can understand why people started to get really frustrated with it. So when the game came out, you could see why people weren't too bothered with it either way. And even playing it, like, it plays okay for what it does and what it's trying to appeal to, but even in my own personal opinion, it's not well executed compared to a lot of other racers that are on the system. It tries to do things a little bit differently, but it can be quite buggy and glitchy. It's very easy to fall off the map when you're using speed bursts. The controls can be quite twitchy and fiddly, and it is also very difficult to win races because the computer AI can be ramped up to the highest level at all times, and it just requires a massive amount of skill and luck to be able to win races. And you have to utilize the power-ups at the right time, because if you don't, it's pretty much game over. The one thing that probably is half decent about the game is the actual soundtrack about it. I do remember back in the day that it also was criticised for not having the main song that made the character really popular in the game. It's nowhere to be seen in it, but it does have a selection of other tunes like rave and techno and dance tunes that would have been kind of like really popular from that kind of club scene or vibe from back in the early to mid 2000s. So it does get that part right, but that's probably where the game probably does stop at that point. Now, it's not to say that it's an out and out terrible game. I don't like to genuinely say that games are out and out terrible. Yes, it's definitely not the best racer in the system, and there's definitely things that could have been done a lot better in it. There is some unique bits in it that do stand out compared to other racers, but they're just not executed as well as they probably could have been. But I think it was more or less just a cash in of what was a popular trend at that time, but you could definitely see that it was rushed, and it shows in the gameplay and even in the various elements within the game, because it's very easy to go off track. There's no real kind of notion of where to go. The tracks can be seriously long as well, which can almost lead you to turn the game off after 5 minutes of playing. So there's a lot of issues with the game straight away before you've even had a chance to play it. Now, I haven't sat down to actually spend time playing the game myself. After a few tries, I did manage to win a couple of races, but it's very hard to do so. There was certain elements of the game that I did like, but there was a lot of it that you just found yourself just getting bored with it after a while, because the tracks can be very similar, especially in different areas. Certain parts of the tracks can be unlocked once you go into different areas, but again, they're all tied to different race types. As you go through through the campaigns, so the gameplay can get a bit repetitive after a while, as there's not really enough unique elements in the game to keep you wanting to play for long periods of time. So I suppose when you look at it, really it's one of those type of games that had an idea to be something different, and especially the time when it was trying to focus in on something that was trending and that was actually popular back at that time, but it quickly wore off, and this game, like the franchise itself, quickly died after a while. So it's one of those long forgotten games, and most people probably won't even ever go back to play them, and if you do, you kind of just go back to play it just to kind of just reflect on that time period, but most people won't enjoy playing it for the most part. Now, it's not to say that I want to put games down, like you do have to respect kind of like the level of effort and time that was put into the game in terms of what it's trying to be, but it's just not executed as well as it could have been. It could have been so much more, and it could have been so much better, but it just isn't when you compare it to games like Crash Team Racing, even the Mario Kart franchise on the Nintendo consoles, and even other kart racers on the PS2. It definitely falls short in a lot of those areas, which is a pity, but it is what it is. And even just for even probably not so much nostalgic reasons alone, if you are thinking of playing something like this, it'd be worth it just to even just experience, just to even see what the game was like, even for that. If not, I'd say you'd probably avoid it altogether, but it's totally up to yourself. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on this game, and if you have played it yourself, and I'm sure I wouldn't say the comments would be too positive on it either, but if so, I'd love to hear your stories with the game, even if they are positive or negative. So be sure to share them down in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more of these videos where I do explore a lot of these really obscure and unique, quirky and probably not so well put together games that were released on the PlayStation 2 back in the day, where I share my thoughts and experience with everyone, then be sure to leave a like on the video. Again, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be updated when future videos are released. And also feel free to check out the videos here on the screen, where I do provide other videos of other similar budget style games that were also released on the system. So be sure to check those videos out, and I will see you all over in the next one.